I'm Rob Koss. I work at Triple X Tattoo in Lucerne, Switzerland, and I've been tattooing for 26 years. Originally, I started when I was 21 at school in my living room for about 6 weeks. I had a huge network of friends. I tattooed basically a bunch of my friends for the first 6 weeks or so. Finished up school, moved back to Chicago where I was from, and then got a chance to start working as an apprentice at a real studio named the Tattoo Factory with under a guy named Pete Color-Fisi. The atmosphere for me of a tattoo studio is extremely important, and in creating an atmosphere, if you're going to be spending like 30 or 40 hours or longer a week in an environment, you want it to be something that is comfortable and attractive and interesting. So one of the first and most important things about the studio is that all the things that I have in there are real. Those are things that I've picked up during my own travels or collected somehow or another. That's not like I walked into a store that sells Asian articles or decoration articles and just picked up a bunch of things from all over the world. These are things from my own experiences, and I think that because they are real, they radiate something different than if they're just mass-produced random consumer articles. So, of course, quality of the tattoos is important, a comfortable environment, and I suppose creativity. You know? I started drawing freehand for a couple of reasons. One was that I was very impressed by Bernie Luther, who was doing freehand work, and I thought it was amazing to be able to draw directly on somebody. And two was after tattooing for about 10 or 12 years, I got really tired of devoting all of my free time to drawing for customers and then them wanting to change things, and they had the right to change things, of course, it was not a question, but it was that because they weren't in the room when I was drawing, I had nobody to bounce the sketches or the drawings or the ideas off of, and I found that it was much more efficient once my drawing skills were good to be able to draw on the customer when they're there, and then it became really a pleasure to do it. In the beginning it was extremely frightening, but I really enjoy it. Now I do it so much that if I'm in front of a piece of paper, I have much more difficulty. I guess I bought my first pinball machine about, I think, 11 years ago for the studio. I wanted to have something for the reception, and somehow or another I was just thinking, wouldn't it be cool to have a pinball machine? And then it's like, where do you go to buy a pinball machine? I didn't even think about eBay or Ricardo or whatever that they have around here. So I contacted somebody that on the internet that was nearby that had a collection, and he recommended somebody else. And then I went over to this guy's place, and he had a pinball room that was huge. There must have been like, I don't know, 80 or 90 games in there. Enormous. And it was like a key to memories of my childhood that I absolutely forgot. So the moment that I started walking around this room and seeing these pictures, it reminded me of places and times that I absolutely forgot. They were lost. I mean, it's amazing, the human brain and how much you can hold in there and not be able to access. And so this afternoon, or this hour that I was walking around his place, it struck me so strong that I wanted to absolutely have something and bring it home. And then it snowballed, and I started to learn how to repair something, and then I picked up another game that was broken and started to repair that one a little bit too, and then as soon as I started to understand how they worked, then it became kind of like collecting and hunting and searching for things that reminded me of the past. Yeah. Do I have a romantic connection with historic pinball machines? Yes, there's a couple reasons. One is it's completely different than my job, so I like pinball. Two is they were all made in Chicago, or until just recently. There's another company that came up that's not in Chicago. So I grew up in Chicago, and they were all around, and so a lot of my experiences as when I was young have to do with game rooms that have video games and pinball machines and stuff like that. So I really like the combination of technique or technical stuff and art. And they're both the same. I mean, they're both in the same thing. It's also like it's a game, so that's also quite fun. And then the games from the 50s, which I really like the most, which of course they're so beautiful. It's not as if I grew up with them, but they're so extraordinary. America in the 50s was just this phenomena of design quality, and so I really enjoy having those and working on those and restoring them. Yeah. Well, this one here is one of the oldest ones. This one is, I think, 1932 from Bali. This is beautiful Art Deco, which I actually hadn't done anything much more than clean it. that's a fascinating game. It's really, really cool. There's another one in the other room that's a really tiny one that's like from 1930 or something like that. So this is like pre-flipper. They don't have buttons on here. You just have to shake the machine to control the ball a little bit.